If there's one thing that college football coaches around the sport should know, it's to not really mess with Deion Sanders' roster, and I'll tell you why.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. Let's talk about it. Tampering is very much a thing in college football, right? It's not a secret. Every program around the country is doing it or has done it or has had it happen to them, but it doesn't mean it's right. And Colorado head coach Deion Sanders made it clear that he was not a fan of one particular ACC program coming after one of his guys. And so he called him out. Let's see what he had to say. On a recent well-off media video, he gathers the team around and he goes, and he's like talking to them. And then all of a sudden he says, Carter, where are you at? Carter Stottmeyer, this is. He goes, Carter, where are you at? And everyone's like, oh, Carter's over here, blah, blah. And he goes, Carter, excuse me. I don't know why I'm saying it like I'm from Boston. Carter got offered a bag today, or got offered a bag. What school was it? And then, quote, he goes, Virginia, because they were like, it's Virginia. Virginia, you got to stop. I let you have the one. I ain't saying nothing about it. Come on now. Come on. We let you have one. I ain't saying nothing about it. So clearly, and we don't know who the one is because there's been quite a few, not a few, but Savion Riley, maybe it's Isaiah Gustav, right? Maybe one of the entries from today, Taj McCoy, whoever it is. We don't know yet, but clearly the Virginia Cavaliers have done a little digging, and we're interested in Carter Stottmeyer, which, I mean, I understand Carter is a very good safety. I think he's someone that is probably going to burst onto the scene this year. He had some bright moments in years past, but I think now with the secondary, the safety spots clearing up a little bit with Shiloh and Cameron McCraig off to the NFL, I think it makes it a little easier for a guy like Carter to sort of finally get his opportunity. In terms of Virginia and college football as a whole, I think this is where the problem is, right? I wanted to talk about this, not because, I mean, I thought it was awesome that he called a program out, because I feel like for the most part, coaches will just say, hey, people are tampering with my guys, but they won't say anything because for the most part, they are doing it too. Now, I don't really necessarily know if Colorado is actively tampering. I'm sure every program in the country, I say every program in the country is doing it. So maybe they've circled back on a couple of guys here and there, but for the most part, I've yet to see them be called out. So that's all I could say about that. But realistically, and I think this is a societal college football problem, I think college football is in a dangerous place right now. And it's very disappointing because we took this NIL transfer portal stuff and it went from like, we are doing what's best for the players to now it's just all hell has broken loose and there's no really regulations. And it's like, okay, what are we supposed to do? How do we fix this? Like, what do we do now? And it's like, okay, well now the sport has been damaged beyond belief, right? There's guys who have transferred in the spring, like for example, Wisconsin tight end transfers to Wisconsin during winter, and now he's back in the portal in spring. And it's like, there's no punishment for that. And there's probably no punishment for people tampering with him. There's no punishment for, I guess, Nico Emiliava leaving his program the way he did, right? He got his money and he left, and it's just one of those things where it's like college football needs to figure out a way to, you have to find the fine line of like allowing players to get paid and have that player movement, but also sort of not just letting it be the wild, wild west. And whether that's making guys sign contracts, whether that's getting a organization who's not the NCAA, because I hate to break it to those people who are still NCAA believers, if there are any. The NCAA doesn't do anything, right? They are pretty much about as worthless as it gets, because anytime something happens, they try to do something and then someone just sues them and then they automatically cower into a corner and they're like, okay, just kidding, we can't do anything about it. And so the NCAA is obviously outdated and should not be managing college football. Now, if they want to manage and govern track and softball or baseball or tennis or golf or what other sports like that aren't these like giant revenue sports that are funding schools, by all means go for it. But realistically, they cannot keep up with or maintain what college football is right now. And so college football needs to go to more of an NFL style system in the sense of there's someone who oversees it. They need to have a general rule without, or I guess a better way of punishing guys or a better way of policing the sport, because I think the part that sucks is although these guys, like the players getting a lot of the blame, right, for entering the transfer portal, but no one cares about who's tampering with them, right? No one cares that Virginia is out here trying to get Carter Stottmeyer to go to leave Colorado, right? But if he were to leave Colorado, everyone would be like, oh, great, another guy chasing a bag. And it's like, why are we not punishing the programs for tampering, right? Tampering is illegal in the WNBA, the WNBA, yes, in the NBA, in the NFL, they get fined, right? So why are we not punishing people for doing it in college football? Same thing with these players, right? I think they need to be on a contract, and that sort of makes you have to figure out how confident you are in yourself and like if you're really at the right school, right? Maybe you sign a 2-year contract, and once like year 2 rolls around, maybe you could start negotiating with your school. But if you don't want to return, that's when you go into the portal, right? And I think that would still lead to some chaos because obviously some guys would hold out and there'd be contract disputes. But I think having guys under contract for multiple years would at least kill this constant flow of like, hey, the portal's been open since yesterday and there's 500 guys. And I'm not even kidding. 500 guys in the portal, 500 plus at this point. And I just don't think this is the right direction for the sport. So good for Deion Sanders calling out Virginia, Tony Elliott, and crew. You better figure it out. You've been exposed. And now, I mean, I wrote about it for Athlon, so they know it's out there, right? Like Athlon Sports is, I published it for my writing role at Athlon with the trending news team. And so it's going to get out there, right? People are going to be like, oh, shoot, Deion Sanders actually called out a program. Because the one thing that most people don't do when it comes to these coaches, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, is they will just say, hey, this program keeps messing with our guys. But they won't say who it is because, one, there's like a unwritten rule of like, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. You know how the unwritten rules are. And two, a lot of programs are doing the same thing that they're tattling on other schools for. But for the most part, I don't think Colorado is one of those, right? They've never been linked to a guy who has not entered his name into the portal yet, right? Colorado does their damage when they're in the portal. Now, maybe they're just really good at back channeling. I don't know. But realistically, I think Deion Sanders having the gall to do this sort of shows that, for the most part, he's doing things the right way. I can't attest to if they're completely tampering or not, but no one's called them out yet. So either they're really good at it or they're just not doing it. And I'm leaning more towards the latter because, obviously, like I said, they do their damage when guys are in the portal. I think they just pride themselves on evaluating talent in the portal. So Tony Elliott, Virginia, you guys are on the hot seat right now. Everyone will be turning their attention to you, sort of figuring it out, if it's true or not. And everyone will be watching Colorado to see which guy goes to Virginia. So that way, hey, we'll know what's true and what's not. So when we come back, we are going to be talking about Colorado's latest transfer portal activities, whether it's guys coming in, guys coming out. I'll let you guys know. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Upwork. Upscaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. So visit Upwork.com. It's cost-effective. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork finds affordable top-tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. We're going to have a really cool guest next week. You guys have seen him. He actually interviewed for one of the recent Colorado job openings. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So you guys won't want to miss that episode because we're going to be talking about a lot of things. And obviously he played at Colorado. And that's the only hint I'm going to give you guys. But let's talk transfer portal. The Buffs are going to be active, right? Coach Prime says he's going to be looking at every position in the portal, but a position that I think a lot of you were like, oh, it's fine. They're good. They don't need it. Yeah, he's going to target that. So let's run through the positives and sort of what I've been talking about. Positions that Colorado needs, or this is what Coach Prime had to say today. We're going to run the heck out of the ball this year. You're probably going to see 2 more backs out of the portal as well. So, like I've been saying, this running back room is shallow. It is not where it needs to be. And losing Isaiah Augusta, even with Isaiah Augusta, honestly, I would have taken at least one, right? I think the problem, and I've noticed this specifically with Colorado fans, and this is just because I'm so focused on Colorado, is there fans are getting so attached to player X where it's like, this dude's great. Like we recruited him. And while I like to have faith in young guys and developing a weird way to have a pause there. But I like to have faith in guys developing and growing into large roles. Sometimes there's a reason that a guy who's been on the team for 3 years hasn't cracked the starting lineup. Sometimes there's a reason that this guy doesn't play much of at all. So it's one of those things where it's like we get so attached to these players and like the thought of what they're supposed to be. And sometimes we're just not able to set aside like this. We're just not able to express to ourselves like, hey, maybe it's not going to work out. So running back wise, they're going to be bringing in 2 more. I talked about the guys who I would think they should target yesterday. So go check that out because there's a lot of talent in the portal at running back. There's a lot of talent in the portal in general. So they should go check that out. Another transfer portal, we'll go positive first. Right? They are hosting a Auburn transfer and at safety. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he's one of those guys who hasn't played a lot. But again, it's one of those things where it's like you take a flyer on a guy who's a former 4-star and you just sort of see what can happen, right? Because at the end of the day, you need the best. His name's Terrence Love, top defensive. He's currently the top rated defensive back in the portal. Has played a lot of football, but at the same time, he hasn't had the most expansive role with the Auburn Tigers. He has 6 total tackles his freshman year and 2 total tackles this past year, but 6'2", 220, former 4-star recruit, and a lot of people are excited about him. So there's that. They're also expected to host defensive back transfer Tion Parks from Illinois State, and then they're going to be hosting Mark, I think it's Nave Jr., an official visit Kentucky transfer. 6'4", 330 pounds, has 4 years of eligibility remaining. And then they're also going to be hosting Virginia offensive tackle Blake Steen. He's the number 3 offensive tackle in the portal. And they're clearly like loading up, right? I think every year until Colorado sort of finds that right combination. For those of you not familiar with Steen, 6'5", 328, played his high school ball at St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida. So he's a Florida guy. I think Colorado is trying to build an offensive line by having as many guys as possible, right? I think they need depth, they need answers, and they need guys who could come in and play. And they're also losing some guys, right? The one that I think hurt a lot of people the most today was Cash Cleveland, the center, freshman All-American, former walk-on, entered his name into the portal. Now, I kind of saw this coming, but again, this is one of those things where I think Cash quickly established himself as a fan favorite, right? He was on the podcast with Shedeur a couple times, a grinder, really worked his way into, I would say, worked his way up into getting an opportunity. According to 24/7 Sports, he was an unranked recruit. He had one offer from Georgia Tech. So he wasn't very heavily recruited out of IMG Academy. That being said, he came in, and when Hank Zelinkus kept snapping the ball off Shedeur's chest when he wasn't looking or was struggling to block, Cash provided some stability. But Colorado went out and got Zarian McGill, right? They've gone out and addressed the offensive line in the portal. And so I imagine that maybe the room was getting a little crowded, and there's probably going to be one or two more, possibly three more offensive linemen that make their journey into Colorado's offensive line room. So personal, right? But these guys got to do what's best for them. And clearly Cash maybe is seeking an opportunity elsewhere to get on scholarship, or if he was already on scholarship, maybe he's seeking an opportunity to earn a little bit more NIL money, return closer to home. Who knows, right? But either way, Cash Cleveland no longer a part of the program. Sam Hart also in the portal. It was reported that he was going to retire. He's in the portal, so clearly he's trying to find a place to call home, so that way he could be a little bit more of a productive player. So I'll let you guys know everything that's happening with the college football transfer portal when it pertains to Colorado when it happens. And we are going to talk about Shedeur Sanders and his controversial jersey retirement. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets. Shedeur Sanders, his jersey's being retired, and people are still upset about it. And Coach Prime was asked about it today, and I partially liked his answer, partially would have liked a little bit more explanation, but then again, no one followed up. So what are we supposed to do with that? Basically, he was asked about the backlash Shedeur is receiving, and he goes, you know what? He's only Shedeur and Travis, and he cut right through the question was cordial, right? But the question was, it's obvious that people are not upset about Travis, right? People are upset about Shedeur because they don't think that his jersey should have been retired. There's been players in the past, Cordell Stewart, Darian Hagan, quarterbacks of Colorado, who don't have their jersey retired, and a lot of people view them as more impactful or legendary than Shedeur. Obviously, Darian led the program to a title, was pretty much won every award imaginable, and people are just like, why Shedeur? And where I think Deion Sanders could have done better is, I like that he acknowledged that people are mad that it's his son. I think that's the obvious reason, though. I would have liked him to sort of hype up what he's done for the program. I would have liked him to sort of maybe say, hey, it's not on me to bring attention to all these other guys, because in just a second, like, people are blaming Deion Sanders. They're saying he did this because it's his son. Do I think Deion Sanders played a role in getting this making this happen? Yes. But why are we blaming Deion Sanders and Shedeur and Travis for something that Colorado's had 20, 30 years to do? And now all of a sudden, the past 3 years, it falls on Deion Sanders, right? Rashad Salam, has to die for his number to be retired. Like, where is Colorado's awareness? And if you're not going to retire all these numbers, because at the end of the day, retiring numbers for a college football team is pretty difficult, honor them somehow, right? Put them in a legend walk of fame or something, or make give them a statue. I don't care, right? Right. You figure out a way to honor guys, and clearly Colorado has not done a good enough job doing that. Otherwise, people wouldn't be so outraged. But I do think a lot of this is because it's Shedeur, right? I think, and Coach Prime said this today as well, if his last name wasn't Sanders, people wouldn't care, and it would be a no-brainer induct him. And I think I just think that there's so many, not that he has to prove it to anyone, but I feel like there's so many ways to explain why Shedeur deserves it. And I would have loved to see what went into these decisions rather than just him being like, people are just mad because it's my son, right? Explain it to the people, right? Because people are like, okay, we want to know. And he's just like, don't judge people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, give us a little bit more than that so that way we can understand the reasoning behind it. Not the reasoning, because I understand why his jersey retired, but give us some background information. Give us the why. Give us the why now. Give us the why hasn't this happened, right? Because I think that's what more people are upset about. So you guys comment below. Were you satisfied with Coach Prime's answers? Do you think he could have divulged a little bit more? Or maybe he's just ready to move on and doesn't want to talk about it. So either way, we'll just have to wait and see how it unfolds. But jersey retirement this Saturday in Boulder. So if you don't have Easter plans, go check it out and you'll be able to see some history for Colorado. I'm Kevin Borba. This has been another episode of Locked on Buffs. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow.